Thank you. You may be seated. You are still under your previous oath to tell the truth. Thank you. Advocate Nguchana.
Thank you, Justice Msenek. Ms. Mufokeng, this March of 9 June 2016, did you leave a memorandum?
No, this one we didn't leave any memorandum.
At which of these marches did you leave memorandums?
It's the one which was from Methodist Church to Department of Health premises. That was after this date, later after this date. That was the last match we had, actually.
After 9 June 2016?
Yes.
Do you still have a copy of the memorandum?
I should have, even though I'm not too sure where it is. That I think can be organized.
Okay. And in brief, what issues did you raise in the memorandum?
We had concerns about, the movement, the NGOs, because already now patients were moved.
Yes.
And we were now aware, because we were going around NGOs, families were going around finding where their loved ones are. So already we were experiencing discrepancies at NGOs,
Would I be correct that already at the time there were deaths which had occurred?
There were deaths that had occurred already that time, though maybe it wasn't much, but yeah, we had concerns now about the NGOs, because the state of so many NGOs was not well off. And then we realized that, well, there isn't, some of them didn't even have nurses, and what is going to happen? There were too many, so we had so many concerns.
Yes, and at one of these meetings you have had with these officials, did you also get an impression that, let me refer you to Peterson's evidence. Peterson's evidence was that Mosenoke was keen to listen to you, but he seemed somehow to be under some power or control.
That's correct.
Did you get the impression that this is what occurred with all the officials you dealt with?
Well, that's what we find out when we got here. But yes, with Mr. Mosenoke, like, you could see that he would listen, and I'm sure he wanted to do something, or he wanted things to be done differently, but unfortunately it was like there was a force behind him. Even the day when he was receiving memorandum, it was like he was helpless. He was just there. He couldn't say much, he couldn't tell us much, he couldn't answer us.
So from the impression that you obtained was that these people were simply under instructions or what, or did they have the power to decide on what is to happen on the project?
Not quite that time, but maybe particularly with him, it was like, no, we'll try and fix whatever, okay, we will try and get things done, appropriately and stuff like that. But otherwise, with all of them, they were giving us, it wasn't like there's anybody who's giving them pressure. They were just giving us that this is how we're promising you, we are going to do this thing, to do this project correctly so, and we'll guarantee you that the lives of your loved ones will be cared for as accordingly.
And they understood all of the problems you had raised with them. They did not raise any issues.
Perfectly. They understood all of the problems and the concerns that we had. Yeah, and they were agreeing with, I'm sorry, Councillor, they were agreeing with us as well to say, no, we know of mental patients, so this is what we are doing with so much care.
And despite this understanding, which you took note of, none of the assistance you requested was received by any one of you, like, for example, being involved in the movement, actual movement?
None. We initially, they invited us to come to go view the NGOs
Yes.
with them. But like I was saying earlier on, they would notice us like later, very late, at a very late stage. Like if you are told now today, not even at night, you receive a mail maybe to say tomorrow we're going to Kalinin. It's far, you have to make arrangements. You know, some of the family members didn't even have transport, you know. Some of us, we at work, we have to make arrangements to be absent at work before we go there, so we couldn't go. So those who were available could manage to go on our behalf.
So what would you say that despite having raised all of these issues and you're not assisted, would you say that you're deliberately ignored?
Come again, Councillor?
Would you say that you were deliberately ignored by these officials?
I would say so. I would say so because we were clear of what we want, or our wishes were very clear of our patients.
So they could not have been mistaken about what issues you had with the project?
Not at all.
Especially so that you had handed in memorandums to them.
Correct.
And in these memorandums, you spelled out what issues you had problems with.
Yes, we did.
Okay. And you had been referred to a minute of 30 November 2015 on page, that is volume 1, page 101. You don't have to go there.
Okay.
It's recorded that the HOD was concerned with costs, but the patient's files had not been, profiles had not been looked into. And it came out in your evidence, not only in your evidence, but the other witnesses, that there was SASA grants which were paid to these institutions, and there were monies which also came from that is from the department. So what I want to find out from you, that is your view, is that a payment came through SASA and from the department. And in the same breath, the concern was about costs. Would that be a cost-saving exercise when you're receiving payments from different sources?
It didn't make sense at all.
It didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense.
Okay. Did you know whether there were other sources of income which were paid to these NGOs from government, other than this?
If I may talk of the one that held my sister, that lady was not getting anything from government. But yes, she did say, we asked her of my sister's grant. So she was receiving my sister's grant, she was receiving. And at a later stage, I think maybe after a few months, she said the department was paying her 2.5.
That is for monthly?
That's for monthly.
2.5 the department she was receiving that is from the department?
Yes.
Then over and above the 2.5 monthly for your sister, and she received grants as well, I suppose.
She said to us she doesn't have other IDs and cards for other patients, so she's not receiving for all of them.
And that would have been per month.
Come again,
The
Justice?
2,500, is that a monthly figure?
That's what she said she was given, yes, monthly.
So again, coming back to the issue of costs, would you agree with the claim that this was about a cost-saving exercise?
I wouldn't agree. I'm not too sure how they were now saving costs here. As you've heard of other evidence that came forth, an owner of an NGO was receiving grants for these patients, and they were getting paid by the department, Alamsam, whatever. So how they were saving costs. And again, our concern was, yes, our patients are getting grants. So from that grant, I'm sure there's an additional of money that goes, that maybe the government is putting in for them to survive going forward. So what is the problem exactly?
Yes. So it doesn't make sense, all this claim that there were saving costs.
Altogether.
Okay. Then, lastly, you had made mention that your sister was in Takalani in 2010.
Yes.
Is it 2010?
Yes, it was in, no, 2002
2002,
to
I'm sorry.
2003.
2010 in Waverley Life
Yes,
Esidimeni.
yes, Council.
2002 to 2000 and what?
2002 to 2003, she was in Takalani.
And that is where this incident, this unfortunate incident of a rape occurred.
Correct, Council.
Okay. And you have not taken any steps to report this within the institution?
Well, we did not at all. We didn't do anything.
Okay. And from back then, I know that it may not be, but seeing that there is some form of corroboration of a similar incident, it appears that it was not an isolated incident. I want to find out about this. What was the, if you still remember, what was the ratio of females to male then?
At Takalani?
At Takalani.
No, I cannot really say. I am not too sure. I'm not sure at all.
In the ward in which your sister was in?
Even in the ward where she was in, I can't remember so well. But in her ward, it was just females.
It was just females.
It was only females.
But they would freely mix amongst themselves.
Exactly. That's now what we've learned, that it means they will just mix around anytime, whether is it lunchtime or whether is it when they have to go play outside or whatever that is, they will just mix around, get mixed around. And it means they were not monitored.
Okay. And now we have this incident, which apparently occurred in 2015 and 2016. From the affidavit you referred to, that apparently there was another rape. Would you confirm that this is, as it appears, not an isolated incident?
I'll confirm that, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Justice Msanek.
Yes,
I have
thank you.
nothing further.
Council?
Thank you, Justice. Ms. Mufukeng, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Council.
We really want to thank you for coming through to give an account relating to your involvement in relation to the relocation or the transfer of your sister from Waverley to Anani. And you have testified that pursuant to the transfer of your sister to Anani, you made effort to visit the facility.
Yes.
And of your concern was issues relating to food and security.
Correct, Council.
And we want to express our regret in the manner in which the project was actually managed. And from your evidence, it came out that you are concerned about the future of the mental health care users at these facilities.
Correct, Council.
Yes. We have had evidence from Mr. Andrew Peterson. Do you know him?
Yes, I do.
He has been appointed to the review board which oversees the facilities which assist or essentially like he is the ears and the eyes on behalf of the family members in respect of the mental health care users. Are you aware of that?
Correct, Council, I am aware.
Yes. Have you been able to make contact with him with regard to any issues which may be of your concern in relation to your sister at Waverley?
Not really per se to him, but we have had a meeting recently with other family members of surviving patients. And we all raised our concerns in that meeting of now where our patients are and what is happening. Are we happy? Have we seen like now the facilities back in Life Esidimeni? Have we seen how things are? Is there anything that we're not happy about? And every issues or concerns raised in that meeting were drafted down and are to be submitted to his department, if I may say his department, yes.
And from your testimony, it came out that you have said that your sister appears to be happy after being relocated back to Waverley.
Correct, Council.
And if there are any concerns, you know the channel to follow to raise those issues.
Correct, Council.
On that note, we just want to thank you for your contribution, as the government is committed to try and ensure that the interests of the mental health care users are being looked after. Hence, there has been an appointment of one of the family members affected by the Marathon project. And we hope that we should be able to find a way forward in ensuring that the rights and interests of the mental health care users are being catered for. And we just want to say we have to put effort from the government's point of view as well as from the family side. And in that way, we will be able to achieve positive results in relation to the interests of the mental health care users. And on that basis, we will not pose any further questions to you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Mama Fuking, how you are Rubuema. King sister, how na bidiwa mas spirit.
She was named after one of my grandmothers.
So you're a grandmother who has mass spirit.
Yes, Council.
And what does that mean?
I don't know. I don't know. I have got no clue, Council.
Mass spirit.
I don't know. I don't know, Council. I don't know. You know, I was also named after my two grandmothers, so
it's a family name. It comes out of the lineage.
yes, Council.
Okay, I accept that.
Council, Justice, like I said earlier on, I hope, Council, like you were saying, that there are measures taken as government to see that mental ill patients are well taken care of. Where there's a gap or a need to fix things, like this is what the Department of Health is working on, I believe so. And I hope everything will transpire at the end of the day. We'll see the works that have been done behind the scene. I'm sure like it should be visible at all facilities, because if I may put it here, we struggle, Justice, actually to even locate mentally ill patients. It is a hassle to get your patient placed in one of these facilities. So I hope that Minister of Health is really up in arms to fix this and to make it easier for us. Because if you have a cry and you come and say, look, I cannot just push a patient or my family member to a hospital or to any medical institution to say, you know, take care of this patient, unless if, yes, there is a concern. And because, yes, we lack resources, I think that's one of the things that government will look at in the Department of Health, that there are enough resources, you know, for our patients, where they are, how they are treated. And again, even the issue of communities being what you call maybe trained or being made aware of what mental illness is, and in your community, if there's such patients. We have seen in the past, there was a story of a lady who was gang raped. She was mentally ill, and that was in Soweto, I believe. It was all over in the news and in media. The mother went, you know, again to the government, to the police to report, and she tried really for her child to be placed, and that really took her forever. It was never happened up until everything was on media, and that was when the Department of Health came in and took her child to an institution, but damage was done already. So I'm sure justice, everybody is getting paid for what they do. Nobody is doing anybody a favor. So can people occupy offices with respect, and can they occupy offices and do exactly what they, when they got there and say, this is the job I'm looking for, or this is what I can do, can they just go there and do exactly that without being pushed, without any favors? Yeah, I think then things will be better in a way if we can really go and do what we have been appointed to do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Justice.
And again, from my side, thank you for coming. This tale has to be told, and we should constantly search for solutions. And we can't do that unless we know what the problem is.
Yes,
So
Justice.
evidence was very important.
Thank you, Justice.
You are excused.
Thank you.
Councillor Tam.
Thank you, Justice. We would like to call a witness on behalf of the government, Mr. Mwako Alfred Rashizoge.
Your full names.
Mr. Rashizoge Mwako Alfred.
Would you spell your name, your last name?
NWAGU.
N.
NWAGU. Mwako.
Mwako is your last name.
Yes.
Rashizoge is your middle name.
That's my surname.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at,
Yes.
your surname.
Yeah.
For the
Rashizoge.
record, I'd like you to help me and spell your surname.
It's RASIDZOGE.
Thank you. Do you swear that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth and nothing but the truth? And if so, please raise your right hand and say, so help me God.
So help me God.
In what language do you choose to testify?
English.
In English.
Yes.
Very well. Counsel?
Thank you, Justice. Mr. Rashizoge, can you just tell this tribunal Where are you currently employed?
So I'm stationed at Cullinan Care and Rehab Center,
Under which department?
Department of Health.
Okay. In what capacity are you employed at the Cullinan Rehabilitation Center?
I'm the manager for FMU, Facility Management Unit.
And what would your responsibilities at the facility entail?
Okay, that will be the management of the buildings, machinery, where mortuary falls under.
Can you repeat that?
The management of the buildings, machinery, and
Yes.
also the mortuary.
Okay, thank you. If I can just take you back, since when have you been employed in that capacity?
That will be 1st September 2012.
And you have been in that position since to date?
Yes.
Can you just assist this tribunal by giving an account of the state of the mortuaries during the period 2015 and 2016?
Okay. In fact, every year, our mortuary need to be serviced around the first quarter, and then we will have to call to request the service from the DID people.
Okay. Before you proceed, can you
Okay.
just give an indication of the capacity of the mortuary at
Okay.
the center?
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, the mortuary, in fact, the building itself is something like 4 by 5 meters. It have got 3 cabinets inside. There's a table, and also the built-in that have got 3 doors, and also the basin.
Yes. Okay. Then you can then proceed to give an
Sorry,
account.
3 cabinets for what use?
To store the corpses inside.
So the cabinets would be where the corpses are kept.
Yes.
How many corpses will it able to take in full capacity?
It's 3 cabinets.
So it's only 3 corpses at a time.
Yes.
And what else is there besides the 3 cabinets?
It's the table that you have got the taps, and also the basin, and also the built-in cabinets for the records.
Thank you.
You had just commenced giving an account of the condition during the period 2015 and 16. Can you proceed in doing that?
Okay. According to the plan that the Department of Infrastructure gave us, the
Okay, let's
mortuary-
try again, sir. The
Sir.
question comes from there, but the answer comes here.
Oh,
So you could look at me, and so that I can hear you, but also it will help for everybody here to hear.
okay. No,
So I know
thank
it's counsel asking you,
you. Okay.
and the tendency is to look at him, but I ask you to throw your voice up so that the broad community here can hear you.
Okay. Thank
Thank-
you.
thank you.
Justice.
Izona Bamsand.
Okay. All right. Every year, our mortuary needs to be serviced once,
Yes.
and then usually it's in the first quarter. So we will have to put a request to the Department of Infrastructure so that they can forward the contractor to come and do the service. So every year since 2015, 16, it was going well. Like this 2017, we have requested the service.
Where is the Department of Infrastructure located? In which department? In the province? In national government?
Yeah, with
In
us.
local government? Where is it located?
Okay. With the institution, we have got the local office, and also, but sometimes we deal with the district office. Yeah.
Is it a national department or a provincial department?
It's a provincial department.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Razok, if you can just try and put the mic closer to you so that like you can be
Oh.
more audible.
Okay. Sorry for that.
You can then proceed to with that account of the state of the mortuary. You had just finished giving an account of how it is set up. If you can proceed.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, every year we'll request that service from the DID. So the DID then will appoint the contractor, and they forward the contractor to come and service the mortuary.
Yes. You are aware of the transfers of mental health care users from Life Esidimeni to Kalinen, not so?
Yes.
Can you just give an account as to what was the condition of the mortuary at that particular period?
So the mortuary was working.
Okay. If you can be assisted, there is a file of documents which is supposed to be before you.
Okay.
I would want you to turn to a section referred to as LR 53.
Okay.
Yes. This tribunal had requested a written report on the state of the mortuary at Kalinen Rehabilitation Care Center. And I just want you to state if you are familiar with that document.
Yes, I am familiar with it.
To what extent have you been involved in its drafting?
Yeah, as the manager for the FMU, some of the information has been sourced from my office.
Yes. And can you just read for the record what is the document, the subject of the document?
Okay. The status of the Kalinen Care and Rehabilitation Center mortuary.
Yes. So you say you have been involved in its compilation.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to refer you to page 2 of that document and item number 1, where it is recorded that late Mr. Gwimede Joseph died on 24/07/2016 and was transferred to Mamelodi Hospital on the 16/08/2016 due to the mortuary not working properly at 11 degrees Celsius. Mr. N.A. Rasi Zoge, the Assistant Director, Administration and Logistics, handed over the corpse to Grace for your funeral service in a good condition. Do you see that?
Yes.
I want you to assist in giving an account of the state of the mortuary at that specific date referred to in that paragraph.
Okay. Every day, there's a person who's dedicated to check the mortuary. And then the temperature of the mortuary is supposed to be between 1 and 10.
Yes.
So on that particular day, then it gave us the reading of 11. That's where we immediately said we need to remove the corpse to Mamelodi.
Okay. Still in the same file, like if you can just go back, if you can turn to LR 52, like before that document. There'll be a document, LR 52. Have you found the document?
Yes.
Then can you turn to page 3 of that document?
Okay.
Do you recognize that document?
Yes, Council.
Can you explain what is the nature of the document?
Okay, this is the document that originated from my office to Mamelodi, where we were requesting them to store the corpse for us.
Who is the author of the document?
I'm the one who wrote the document.
Yes. And then can you just explain the content of the document?
Yeah, in fact, I was requesting Mamelodi to assist us by storing the corpse because our mortuary then was out of the range, meaning it was then starting to be above 10. because we understand that it's supposed to be between 1 and 10, but on that particular day, according to the person who's taking the reading every day, then it was 10 plus. That's where we said we need to come up with a way to remove the body to Mamelodi. And immediately then I wrote this letter to request the assistance from them.
And at the time when the reading was at 11, what was the condition of the corpse?
The condition was still fine.
And upon discovering that the temperature was at 11 degrees Celsius, after how long was the corpse transferred to Mamelodi as per your request?
Okay. Immediately after writing this letter, we had to do all these other logistics of phoning the undertakers so that they can come in and pick the body. But around 6 in the same day, the temperature then was back. But we had to continue with the transfer of the corpse to Mamelodi since we now have a situation where the temperature was getting out of the range.
Yes. And then you say that the corpse was ultimately transferred to Mamelodi Hospital despite the change of the temperature at the mortuary.
Yes.
And can you then proceed to give an account as to what then transpired after the corpse has been transferred to Mamelodi Hospital with regard to the attendance to the mortuary?
Okay. The report that I got from the person who's attending the reading every morning, they said to me, they suspect that if this mortuary now is going out of the range, obviously it might be having a problem.
Yes.
Of which then they attended to it.
Was it attended to?
Yes, it was attended to.
And after the conditions have been attended to, can you give an account what has been its condition from then to date?
No, from, I think it was from the same period that you stated, the mortuary down is usually within the range, that is 1 and 210 degrees Celsius.
And has there been any corpse that decomposed whilst under your care?
No.
Okay. I think I just want to take you back to Ella 52 at page 3 so that you can read into the record exactly what steps were taken upon discovery of the malfunction of the mortuary at the time. Are you able to get to page 3 of Ella 52?
You said page?
Page 3 of Ella 52.
Yes, I've got the letter.
Yes.
This one.
Can you just read the content of the document starting from the date on which it was written and the subject as in reference to the corpse of Mr. Joseph Gumede?
Okay. Date 16 August 2016, subject request to store our corpse in your facility, brackets, mortuary, close brackets. Cullinan Care and Rep Center is experiencing a problem with the mortuary facility which is not working. Currently, our mortuary space takes only 3 corpses. We would like to have a long-term arrangement with your hospital in case we are unable to cater for more than 3. Currently, we are requesting your assistance to store a corpse in your mortuary. Particulars of the deceased are as follows. Mr. Gumede Joseph, ID 575035432089. The corpse shall be collected as soon as we get our mortuary working. Yours in the public service regard, signed by Mr. Rastoke.
And then the signatory is yourself?
Yes, I'm the one who signed.
Okay. And then if you can go to Ella 53. the second page, the paragraph that I've already read, like you have stated that the corpse of Mr. Gumede was handed over in good condition.
Yes.
And whilst under your care, there's been no case during which a corpse had to decompose.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. There are no further questions, Justice.
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much. What you have not read into the record is paragraph 3 of LR 53. Could you read that? On page 1.
LR 53, page 1,
Yes.
and then paragraph.
You could start from the second paragraph.
Okay. Before 2015-16 financial year, the mortuary used to stay for more than 1 or 2 years without being used. Every time we had a corpse, the mortuary would be used, which then we did not have any problem. In the late 2016, our mortuary started to have a challenge because the temperature reading was then 10 degrees Celsius plus. Then we requested the urgent repair from Department of Infrastructure Development, and the service was done. Open brackets, the mortuary had a leaking gas then, which was addressed, and the service was also done. The request to repair form is attached for ease of reference. The next service was supposed to have taken place already. A follow-up is being done with the DID, who are awaiting the service provider to be appointed. We will monitor the situation closely. The incident, during the time that the mortuary was under service and repair, the corpses were transferred to other areas. Following is the list of the transfer corpses.
Yeah. So the essence of this evidence is nothing went wrong under your command, isn't it?
Yes, Justice.
And any suggestion that any of the corpses kept at the mortuary in 2016 went bad would be incorrect.
Yes, Justice.
Understand? Counsel?
Thank you, Justice. Good afternoon, Mr. Rasoke.
Afternoon, Counsel.
If we could begin with your statement that no corpse decomposed while under your care. And if I could refer you to LR 52, there's one aspect of it which was not put to you on the first page. And that's, so LR 52 is the state of the mortuary at Mamelodi Hospital. In bullet point 2 on the first page, it says, according to the mortuary supervisor, Mr. Buddha, the deceased came already decomposed because Cullinan indicated the challenge on their side of the mortuary not functioning well. That contradicts your earlier testimony that there was no, that the body of Mr. Joseph Gumede was in good condition. Do you want to respond to that?
Yes, Counsel. The letter that we wrote to Mamelodi stated that our mortuary had a challenge, and that was on the 16th. So it was also on the 16th that the body was removed from Cullinan to Mamelodi.
Yes, but that doesn't really answer the question. The point is, you said the body, no body decomposed under your care, but in fact, there's evidence to the contrary by the mortuary supervisor on the Mamelodi side, who says that Mr. Joseph Gumede's body had arrived in a decomposed state.
No, maybe to answer that statement, as far as the information that I have is concerned, is that I'm the one who handed over the body to the undertaker.
And
the-
you,
I had to open the body, to examine the body before I hand it over to the guy who was collecting it, and the body was fine.
so this is not correct. This is a
Yes.
lie that's in LR 52. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But you talk about an undertaker, I don't understand that. You mean the undertaker who took the body from you to Mamelodi Hospital mortuary?
Yes.
Who was that undertaker?
Grace for you.
Grace
For you. Yeah.
And in what form was the body given to, covered in what?
It was covered in shroud.
Who shrouded the body?
I understand it's the nursing department.
How long was the body in your mortuary?
It was stored there from the 24th of the previous month up until the 16th when it was removed.
24th of July to the 16th.
Yes.
Just at the time when your temperature was above 10.
Like I said, every day there's a person who's dedicated to,
No, just deal with the
Okay.
question. Was it at the same time when the mortuary was faulty?
yeah, the same day, then we had to remove it immediately.
No, but it was there for 3 weeks. Let's start again.
Okay.
When did Mr. Gumede die? In other
Wait.
words, simply how long, Council will have many questions.
Okay.
I just want to know how long was Mr. Gumede in your mortuary?
From the 24th to the 16th.
That's how many weeks? That's 3 weeks.
3 weeks, yes.
And the 3 weeks were the 3 weeks during which your mortuary was faulty. Is that correct?
No, the mortuary was working.
When was your mortuary not working? Why did you have to write the letter if the mortuary was working?
Okay. Every day, the person who's taking the reading, then they realize now that it's out of the range. So immediately then we had to remove the body the same day.
What do you mean immediately? The body was there for 3 weeks.
And then the mortuary was working, Justice.
And then your colleague in Mamelodi signs a statement telling lies that the body was decomposed.
No, it wasn't, as it lived there from Cullinan.
You're under oath, sir. I'm going to look for that person. I'm going to subpoena them here, so too the undertaker, because this family is deeply hurt, and the body was with you for 3 weeks. At a time when you tell me your mortuary was not reliable. It was not staying within the range of the coldness. I want to give you an opportunity to think again and give us an answer. Councillor, you proceed.
Thank you, Justice. Mr. Rasisoge,
Yes.
you say it was working
Yes, Counsel.
in the time that Mr. Joseph Gumede's body was lying in the mortuary, which was from 24 July until 16 August 2016. So you're saying between 24 July 2016 and 16 August 2016 it was working?
Yes,
correct?
it was working, yes.
And that's 23 days that the body of Joseph Gumede was in the mortuary. Right, if you look at LF 53, and specifically page 3, can you tell us what this document is?
Yeah, this is the report that was forwarded to Dr. Kinoshi.
Okay, let me try again. You're looking at LF53, page 3. It says access certificate. Do you see that?
No. LR53. Oh yeah, I've got it. I've got it.
So can you tell me what this document is, please?
That will be page 5. The one that you're referring to.
So page
Yeah.
3.
Access
three.
certificate is, mine is marked page 5. Access certificate.
My annexure seems to be in a different order, Justice. So let me say then the relevant document is access certificate.
Yes.
For use with NEC3 engineering and construction contract.
That's the one.
Okay, so can you tell us what that document is?
So this is the access certificate for the company that was forwarded to service the mortuary.
So, and it's Funzo Air Conditioning.
Yes.
Is this the document that requests them to come and service the mortuary?
Yes, the access certificate, the date
Yes.
that they were
And do you
supposed
see what date it is?
to, the 29th of July.
It was the same time as which Mr. Joseph Gumede was lying in your mortuary. He'd
Yes.
already been there for 5 days by this point in time.
Yes.
Yes. And this access certificate is requesting a service. And in the middle of that page, it says, the access date is, and then there's a handwritten note. What does it say?
29th of July.
Access date is,
29th July.
Now,
but there's a
before the
word
date,
before
the
that.
date, sorry.
Council is drawing your attention to the words before the date.
Emergency.
Emergency.
Yes.
So in fact, the mortuary was not working on the 29th of July.
It was working.
Why did you need to have an emergency request?
Okay, let me try to go back a little bit. On
And-
the,
Okay.
for me to
Answer
answer
that
this,
first.
for me to answer this one. Like I said, every year we request these guys from DID to service our mortuary. So on the 25th of June, we requested the service from them, and then they forwarded the contractor, Funzo, on the 22nd of, let me get this right, on the 22nd of July. So on the 23rd, they were on site to do the servicing of the mortuary. So on the 24th, that's when, after the mortuary was serviced on the 23rd, that's when then we had the corpse of Mr. Gumede. Then all these other logistics like this access certificate, they were all done after the mortuary was serviced on the 23rd
Of?
July.
So why, a few days later, are you making an emergency request? I'm sorry, I'm not following your answer.
Okay. Again, we requested this service on the 25th of June, as it's supposed to be serviced every year.
Okay, this document is signed 29 July 2016.
Yes,
Do you agree with that?
yes,
On 29 July, there's an emergency request to service the mortuary, correct?
yes.
So I'm saying to you that the mortuary wasn't working, and that is why you needed to have an emergency request to repair it.
Yeah, let me just go back again. The mortuary was serviced on the 23rd of July. These other logistics were done after
After the 23rd of July.
the mortuary was serviced on the 23rd.
Who serviced the mortuary? The same people?
Funzo, and they were requested by DID. So
Right.
the
So you're
logistics,
saying on the 23rd of July, they serviced the mortuary.
yes,
And 6 days later, you had to do an emergency request
okay.
for a further service.
Yeah, okay, let me try to put it again.
No, but it's simple.
Yeah,
Was
but-
the mortuary working on 29 July?
It was working.
So why did you make an emergency request for another service?
It was for the same service which was done on the 23rd.
What do you mean?
They did the service.
Every time you talk about a date, give us the month and the year, please.
Okay.
We are recording all this, and it should be readable, understandable to anybody who's not here.
Okay.
Let's start again.
All right.
The question is, why did you ask for an emergency service on the 29th of July if the mortuary had been serviced
Okay.
shortly before then?
The request was forwarded on the 25th of June. And then because these guys were not coming,
Of which year?
2016.
2016, sorry.
Right.
Sorry. And then we had to make a follow-up with DID to say, guys, you need to come and service our mortuary because now we are starting to have the corpses that we need to store there.
Why did you make the follow-up?
To request them to come and
Yes.
attend to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why did you make the follow-up?
It's supposed to be serviced every year during the same quarter. That's why we have to make a follow-up because we
So
do
they
the
hadn't
first.
serviced it by then?
By then it was not
So
serviced.
it's not the first quarter. You
this-
told us in your evidence you service normally in the first quarter.
The first quarter.
This was in July. So I'm asking you, why did you ask for a service outside the normal cycle?
No, it was done on the 25th of July. That would be the first quarter.
25th of July, first quarter?
Yes.
First quarter of the year is to 25th in July? Just help me.
Okay, maybe I might be confusing myself, but I'm reading the quarter from April to the end of June. So that means from the second quarter, sorry for that, from the second quarter, that will be the 25th of July. That way we made a request to DID.
You give us evidence about service in the first quarter. What do you mean by that? First quarter, let's just clear the deck. We're not trying to catch you. You know
Yeah,
what we do?
I understand.
We have families who are very unhappy.
Okay.
They found decomposed bodies from your mortuary.
Okay.
And that's what the inquiry is about. It's not how clever or not clever you are.
Okay.
I just want the facts, and that's
Okay.
what council is trying to do.
Okay.
We want to understand what was happening there
Okay.
and why these poor families had to be confronted with
Okay.
corpses that were smelling. That is what it is about.
Okay.
Let's go and try again, please.
All right.
Council.
Thank you, Justice. What do you understand by the first quarter of the year? What months count as the first quarter for you?
That will be April, May, June,
So,
July.
wow, 4 months. There are 12 months in a year. Divided by 4 to make a quarter will be 3 months. So it would be April, May, June.
Yeah, that will be the second quarter then.
April, May, June, in your understanding, is the first quarter of the financial year.
That's what I said, that now I'm under
Okay.
correction to say the first request that we made from our section was on the 25th of June.
Okay, I have no evidence about the 25th of June, but what we can say, based on what you explaining to us as far as the quarters go, is that we're in July, and July is the second quarter of the year.
Okay.
Is that right?
Okay.
No. Don't say, okay, because if I'm
Oh.
wrong, I'd prefer it if you told me I'm wrong. Is it correct that July is now the second quarter?
Yes.
And are you saying that as of July 2016, there had not been a service performed on the mortuary
Yes.
for the year starting January 2016? When was the last service then that had been provided?
Yeah, usually it's done during the same period of July.
So it would have been a year, more than a year now,
Yeah,
and there
so-
had not been a service done on the mortuary. Is that correct?
It's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now you've made an emergency request, and you're saying that you had to put in this emergency request even though the mortuary was working.
Yes.
Okay. Then, look, I think
And the
that
question is why Did you need an emergency service?
Again, now we started storing the corpses in our mortuary. And those guys, they were not coming. That's why we had to phone them and say, guys, you need to come and service the mortuary because now we started storing the corpses here.
Because it wasn't working, that's why.
It needed service. It was working, but it needed service.
Okay,
Which
so
is
look at this turnover. I'm sorry, Justice.
No, you go ahead. You go straight ahead.
So I'm not sure whether the numbering of my pages correspond with yours.
Okay.
So I'm just going to describe the document, and if you could please find it in the bundle under Ella 53. It's on the letterhead of Funzo Air Conditioning, and it's a quotation for Cullinan Mortuary Emergency.
On our number is 8, supplied by Mr. John Oliphant.
That's the one, Justice.
Have you found that?
Yes.
Mr. Ratistog, okay.
And it's a quotation for parts and for service time and so on. And some of the parts include a flushing agent, gas. Do you see that?
Yes.
26 July 2016.
Yes.
Would it be necessary to fix the gas if there was nothing wrong with it?
No, I will understand that that was part of the servicing.
And on the same quotation, so you're saying it's not because there was anything wrong? It was just...
It was due for service, Council.
Well, I'm putting it to you, Mr. Rasasohe, that it's not just an ordinary service because it says supplied R22 gas. It's something that was supplied rather than serviced. A flushing agent is a part that is supplied.
Yeah, but I would like to also to understand that when they decided to refill the gas, obviously they have to check if there's a problem. In this case, I understand that they're supposed to flush it out so that they can refill it as part of the servicing.
You know, we can't continue to be so clever, should we? Look at that. Cullinan Mortuary Emergency for Mortuary Fridge. You tell us a regular service. No, the gas was just flushed in normal service. And the top of the quotation says emergency for mortuary fridge. And the service provider charges overtime.
Overtime, yes.
And works overnight on Friday, on Saturday, Sunday, and charges huge rates of 10 hours overtime. Can you see that?
Yes.
And all of that turns out to 20,000 rand for emergency for Cullinan Mortuary. And you tell council this was just a regular service. How do you explain that?
Yeah, maybe in terms of, maybe when we're referring to service itself, to say it's an emergency or it's a regular service, that will be something that needs somebody with the expertise. But to me, it was a service that was done because it was due to be done.
A routine service.
A routine service that needs to
Nothing
be
wrong
done.
with the mortuary.
No, mortuary was
Nothing wrong with the mortuary fridge.
Nothing.
Just a service.
Yes.
Can you turn over the page, please? And it says that page, if it's the same as mine, it says tax invoice DID 513. Do you see that? Supplied to Mr. Vincent Tlatswayo. Do you see that?
Which page is that?
I think
Page
it might be 9.
On yours is page 9.
Yes.
Do you see that?
Yes.
What does it say under Mr. Vincent Tlatswayo?
Emergency Cullinan Mortuary.
Continue.
Repair fridge.
Do you still maintain that this was a routine service?
Yes, it was a routine service.
So why does it say emergency repair fridge and overtime work?
Okay, let me just go back a little bit again. Every time when we request...
16 hours. 16 hours of overtime at double the rate. Yes, answer the question.
Okay, thank you, Justice.
On routine maintenance.
Okay, every time when we request the service, these guys, they will take forever to come. Maybe just to give example with now, we have requested the same service for the same mortuary somewhere around the second quarter, but we are still waiting for them. With this incident, we had to push them, and they had to come up with this motivation to get approval for the contractors to be appointed.
Oh, so the DID fabricated that it was an emergency in order to get the service provider to
get
come.
the contractor appointed to service the mortuary. Hence, I'm saying, if you check the access certificate and all these other documents that are attached here, they were sourced after the mortuary was fixed on the 23rd. Even the page 8 that you're referring to, of those days that were put there, the mortuary was already serviced on the 23rd, where these 10 hours are coming from.
I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand what you're saying. What are you saying? Quotation sourced after the repair. What are you saying? Help me understand.
Okay. I agree. These guys, then they were requested to come and attend this one as emergency.
Who were requesting who?
Sorry?
Who was requesting who to come where?
The DID.
Yeah.
They requested the contractor.
DID is what? Is the department?
Department of Infrastructure and Development.
Yes.
They are the one that are appointing the contractors for the institution.
Yes.
So they, after we have made a follow-up with them to say, guys, you need to come and service the mortuary, they phoned Funzo, and then the contractor came to the institution on the 22nd of July 2016. And then on the 23rd, that's where they spent these 10 hours servicing the mortuary.
But there's nothing before us that says anything about the 22nd of July or 23rd of July. The date is 26 July 2016 on the quotation that we were looking at just a moment ago, which I think is your page 8. And all of the documents that I hear say the same thing. 29 July, and it was all completed by the 4th of August. That's what the documents say. I'd like to refer you to one more document.
Okay.
Maybe you'll have more insight.
And the quotation, rightly so, was on the 26th of July, isn't it? Before the work was done, as per completion certificate on the 4th of August. But go ahead, Council.
Sorry, Justice.
And sorry, is the quotation of the 8th of August is a separate one from the one of the 26th of July. Are they different quotations?
Yeah, maybe just to come in on that one. If you check page number 8, page number 9, and also page number...
No, let us just answer my question first, please. The quotation on 26 July 2016, is it the same as the one on the 8th of August 2016?
Yeah, it's the same thing.
The numbers are totally different. What do you mean the same thing?
Yeah, maybe I need to say something on that one. Like I said, they prepared these documents after the service was done. Because if you check the one that was done on the, I think it's page 9, which then is dating 8th of August. And the one that we're referring to then will be page 8 that we're basing our argument on. Hence, I'm saying the actual service of all these logistics that were done, the service was done on the 23rd. So these other ones are just the logistics that were done by by this Funzo air conditioner and the DID.
What do you mean the logistics? On page 8, the quote says, overtime Friday, 25 July, overtime Saturday, 26 July, 2016, overtime Sunday, 27 July, 2016. Are you saying that that's not correct, that that's a lie?
The actual service was done on the 23rd.
So this is a lie?
Well, let
And-
him confirm that. Could you answer that?
Come again, Justice?
Are the dates on the quotation a lie? That's what counsel is putting to you.
They are not referring to the actual date of the servicing of the mortuary.
Why would your service provider lie about that?
I wouldn't know.
And why would the rates of charging of the two quotations be different?
Okay. In the process of acquiring these services, the logistics are done by DID, where they get the approval and they base their approval on the rates that they have. So from our side, we only receive the contractor, and then we, as long as the service is going to be done, then we concur. Unless otherwise, if something that is abnormal, that's where we engage ourselves to say then it needs to be reviewed.
Throughout all this rigmarole and repairs and overtime and double charges, the body, where was the body of Mr.
Gumede.
Gumede?
The body was stored there on the 24th of July. July, yes.
So when all this, an emergency request for repairs and quotations and the work, his body was in your mortuary?
Yes, it was in the mortuary.
And is that why your attitude is that everything was working fine, despite this evidence of emergency request for repairs, which makes the Treasury to face overtime rates? And these people are paid for traveling. And the bill on its face appears to be double what it would have been because of emergency and overtime. And you say your fridge was just, your mortuary was just fine. And Mr. Gumede was lying there in a temperature between 1 and 10 degrees. Is that it?
Yes, Justice.
If you could have regard to the page before the Punzo quotation on page 8. Is it an e-maintenance work request? Do you see that?
Yeah, the one that I was referring to.
And who would have filled in this request?
The FMU clerk.
Sorry, who? Who would have filled in the request?
FMU clerk, Facility Management Unit clerk.
I see.
Yeah.
At Cullinan.
Yes.
And it says defect title, mechanical.
Yes.
And it says defect description, please come and service the mortuary.
Yes.
And it says under urgency, very urgent.
Yes.
Why was it so urgent?
Okay. During the same period every year, the mortuary need to be serviced. And this guy, by then, they were not coming up with the contractor to service the mortuary. Then that's why we had to state this.
And the defect mechanical is, what does that mean when it says the defect description is mechanical?
Okay.
Defect title.
Under DID, they classify all these other things that they're doing. So anything that is had to do with the machinery, they classify it under mechanicals.
And this was reported by a person named Miss Ella Nkosi.
Yes.
Is she employed by Cullinan?
Yes.
And can you see the report date and time?
Yes.
Can you tell us when this report was made? When this work request was made?
It was made on the 25th of June 2016 at 4:24.
25 June 2016.
Yes.
And it was urgent. But you say that the mortuary was working.
The mortuary was working, yes.
And Ms. Ella Nkosi would have said it's very urgent simply to, why would she have said that if it wasn't, if it was routine?
Okay. I agree they need to service it. I agree. Let's say on the same quarter, but these guys, like I said, they were not giving us exactly when are they going to start servicing the mortuary. So we had to put it to say
Who was not providing you with that information as to when they would service the mortuary?
DID.
And it's been a year and you say there's been no service.
For example, even this year, we forwarded them the request, but the contractor is not here to do the services for this financial, for this 2000, sorry.
And
Sorry
why
for that.
would you need them to come so urgently if it was working? I need you to answer that question, because what it suggests is that the need for the yearly service is because a machine like this that has to be very precisely calibrated so that it keeps the temperature within a certain range, as you've described to us,
Okay.
needs to be maintained in a certain way. And if not, it won't work properly. Isn't that so?
Yeah, I'll say yes, but then I will have to go back and say, every year on the same period, if the machine is not serviced, I agree. Obviously the service need to be requested. And because they were supposed to have done it already by the time that we forwarded them this document, we had to say they need to come as a matter of urgency so that they can come and service the machine, the mortuary.
But you agree with me that the reason for a yearly service is because a machine of this nature, as I said, which requires a fine calibration, won't work properly if it's not serviced. You agreed with me on that. I'm just confirming that.
Yeah, if something is not serviced, obviously it won't work properly.
But look at page 3. Look at page 3 of LR 52. On the 16th of August 2016, under your hand, you write, Cullinan is experiencing a problem. In fact, you should read that. You wrote this. What is that in the first paragraph?
Cullinan Care and Rehabilitation Center is experiencing a problem with the mortuary facility, which is not working. Currently, our mortuary space takes only 3 corpses, and we would like to have a long-term arrangement with the hospital.
Were you truthful when you wrote to Mami Lodi about that mortuary then? And this is after all this money was spent, eh? Were you truthful when you wrote that?
Yes.
What had happened?
Okay.
Justice, may I
From-
just intervene before the witness answers?
Yes.
Because it's related to your question,
Yes, it
and
is.
he can answer the both together. Can you please read the last line of your letter?
The corpse shall be collected as soon as our mortuary working.
Can you read it again, please, exactly as it's written?
The corpse shall be collected as soon as we get our mortuary working.
Thanks. You may answer the Justice's question now.
Okay. From the date that the mortuary was serviced, that will be the 23rd. From the 24th, like I said, the person who's monitoring the mortuary was doing that every day. So on the date of the 16th of August, and then the reading then was above 10, that's when we immediately requested Mami Lodi to assist us by storing the corpse.
Had the service been done
Yes,
with all of those monies,
yes.
19,000 and 20,000, and all that time you had Mr. Gumede in your custody, is that right?
Yes.
And then you write a letter to Mami Lodi and say, our facility is not working. Is that your evidence?
Yeah, that's what I said, because the reading on the particular day, it was then above, out of the range. Because it was being monitored every day.
You know,
So when
Mr.
we picked that one up to say now it's 10 plus, then we immediately transferred it to Mami Lodi.
Why did you do it all this time? When you were asking for emergency repairs paying overtime with the body under your custody, why don't you do this arrangement? Because seemingly if it goes out in one day, you don't like it, you jump and you send the body off. Why don't you do it earlier?
Okay, I agree then the mortuary was serviced, then we were monitoring it. So we couldn't say we are going to leave the body there and monitor continuously. We said we need to remove the body immediately when we realized that now it's out of the range. And I said at the beginning to say they suspected that maybe there might be a problem or a leakage in one of the pipes. And the only way for them to be able to do that is when we remove the body so that they can have the access to there.
But why did you do it before then? Why did you do it during the service? Why didn't you remove the body when you make a requisition for service? When your secretary or staff filled in the form saying there's a mechanical defect in the mortuary, why did you leave that body there? For me, that's what it is about. It's not about you and your protective answers. I want to know, why do you leave a body there when you have all these documented problems?
Okay, Justice. The mortuary was serviced on the 23rd, and then the body then was stored on the 24th. So
Of which month?
of July. It was serviced on the 23rd, and the body was stored there on the 24th.
Not according to all of these invoices, but yes. Go
Okay.
ahead.
And then from that date, and then the person was monitoring the temperature. Then on the 16th of the following month of August 2016, then the temperature then was out of the range. It was then 11 plus. Then we had to remove the body immediately.
And your counterpart in Mamelodi, who you make the request to, tells us the body was decomposed. Something consistent with all of the evidence on paper before us, despite your denials. Why would your colleague in Mamelodi Hospital go and write something like that?
I wouldn't know.
Isn't it because what you say now is not to be relied upon?
No, the information that I'm giving is true.
But it doesn't tie in with all of this written documentation.
Okay. Maybe, let's say, for example, the logistics that were done by Punzo and the
Now you
DID.
tell us all these things were written afterwards.
And
You
that
tell
is,
us the dates by your service provider are untruthful.
and exactly, it's exactly that.
Telling everybody else is lying, isn't it? On your version.
That's why I'm saying the logistics were done after the mortuary was serviced.
Why would they give you a quotation after servicing the mortuary?
That one I will know.
You wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
But you work there, you're the chief, you're the head.
Yeah, like I said.
You requisitioned all of these papers.
Okay, like I
Were
said,
these people paid? Have they been paid already?
not yet.
No.
The service providers have not been paid yet.
Yeah, because the last document that we signed was forwarded to our institution this year because they had to correct it. So it was forwarded again by DID to say the first submission then had a challenge, then they had to redo everything. So it was signed again this year. Maybe if you check, let me just try to page because I saw it somewhere here. If you check under the access certificate, where I've signed it on the September the 8th, 2017. When this document then was forwarded back to us for signing because they said there were some logistics challenges, then they had to redo everything. You check the completion and also you check the access certificate.
Where's that? Where?
It will be page 5 and page 6. The second signature.
But the access certificate was on the 29th of July, 2016.
Yeah, if you check the second signature where I signed it on the 8th of September 2017. And also if you check the completion certificate, I signed it on the same date.
I don't see that. Where is that?
It will be page 5 and page 6. The second signature, sir.
It says the completion date is the 4th of August 2016. And the contractor signed 9th August 2016. Is that right?
Yes.
So what are you telling me? What are you,
The second signature there, where I've signed, if you check the date, it's 2017,
what is
September.
that supposed to tell me?
You asked the question as to whether these people were paid or not. Then I said they are not yet paid. That's why then the DID had to bring this document so that they can be resubmitted for payment.
But everybody else paid in August 2016. And you're the only one who didn't sign. Why didn't you sign it, you say?
They had to redo all these documents. That's why they had to bring them on my office to be signed. Then I indicated the date, the exact date that I signed the documents, the two documents, page 5 and page 6.
And that's supposed to indicate what?
In answering the question to say, are these people paid or not? That's why I had to say, these documents were brought back to the institution for signing, and then I indicated that I've signed them on the 8th of September, 2017.
So you paid them nearly a year later.
And I understand that they are still not yet paid, because it takes time with those people.
And is the mortuary working?
It's working fine.
And who serviced it this time around?
We have requested the DID to come and service the mortuary, and we are still waiting for them to come.
So the mortuary is working on its own without being serviced?
It's working, but it's not yet serviced. Service is due already.
Anyway, the witness is yours.
Thanks,
See
Justice.
what fun you can get out of this.
Let's just clear up the issue on these dates. Everybody else signed in 2016, on page 5, July 2016, page 6, August 2016. Correct?
Yes.
Do you agree they all signed then?
Yeah.
You signed a year later, 2017,
Yes.
for a service that was done in July 2016.
Yes.
And what about 2017 service? Are we just going to be a year behind? Has there been a service done in 2017?
We have requested the department to come and service the mortuary. But
So we're again not on,
exactly.
so there's no service that was done a year after July 2016.
That's why sometimes when we had to put this matter as matter of urgency so that they can come and attend this.
And you say that the service that was conducted in July 2016 was a routine service.
Yes, it was a routine.
It was purely routine maintenance, nothing more.
Yes, Council.
So if you look at the first page of LA 53, and at the third paragraph, which begins in late 2016. Can you read that paragraph, please?
Okay. In the late 2016, our mortuary started to have a challenge because the temperature reading was 10 degrees Celsius plus. Then we requested the urgent repair from the Department of Infrastructure and Development, and the service was done. Open brackets, the mortuary had a leaking gas then, which was addressed, and the service was also done, close brackets. The request to repair form is attached for ease of reference.
So there are a number of things you've already said in this document, that are in this document. One is that in 2016, late 2016, the mortuary had a problem. And the problem was that it was overheating. Correct?
Come again on that one? I didn't get it right.
So I'm just summarizing the main aspects of this document, then that paragraph, sorry.
Okay.
And it says, in late 2016, the mortuary had a challenge because it was overheating. Correct?
I would like to elaborate on that one.
No, I would like you to just answer yes or no, please.
But you wrote that report, didn't you? You wrote that.
Yeah, I gave that information.
Yes.
Yes.
And you said what council puts to you. So she wants a response from you.
May you repeat the question again, please, Councillor?
In late 2016, the mortuary was having problems because it was overheating. Yes or no?
No.
No, it wasn't having a problem because it was overheating. You say the temperature reading was 10 degrees Celsius plus. You've also told us earlier that it's important to be kept within a certain range between 1 and 10. You say 10 plus because we don't know whether that means 20 or 15 or whatever. The point is it was overheating. It was out of range.
That's why I said maybe I need to elaborate on that one, on the statement that I wrote there.
I'm going to ask you one more time. In 2016, the mortuary was having a problem, correct?
Yes.
And the problem was that it was getting too hot, correct?
I'll still say I need to elaborate on that one.
Okay.
If you allow me to elaborate on that one, I think it
Yes.
will shed a light.
Yeah, shed light.
Okay. Agree we understand that the reading need to be from 0 to 10. So then we have the cutoff range to monitor the temperature. And then the mortuary itself was not then picking up from 8 going up to 0. Then it was then in the range of 8 and 10, of which then had to say we need to start it need to get service. So based on that information of the standard that we put as the institution, then we said we had a challenge because the mortuary now is not picking up. It's staying in the range of 8 and 10. Whereas in the normal setting, it will have to say in the morning, it start from 0, then in the afternoon, maybe late afternoon, then it will be around 8 and 10. But for the period before the date of the service, then we had a challenge where the mortuary maybe, okay, usually in the morning, then it will start by saying between 8 and 10. And we started to say this one now, it need attention.
So your own recordal was incorrect. The mortuary was working fine.
Yes.
It was within range.
Yes.
But you wrote that the mortuary was not working properly.
So, all right. The normal...
What are the words that he used?
Our mortuary started to have challenges because the temperature reading was 10 degrees Celsius plus.
How are you changing that?
No, I'm not changing that. I want to go back to that one.
Sorry,
I'm saying,
Okay.
I'm saying,
This is evidence. You can't go there and go back to something and go there and choose what you like. All I want is the truth. That's why we swear you in. You write that you have challenges in the second half of July with your mortuary.
yeah, but then,
I'm sorry, second half of 2016. You want to explain that?
yeah,
and
I would like to explain
give
that
it a
one.
totally different version.
Yeah, I would like to explain that one. I agree, if we are monitoring the mortuary, we are saying it's supposed to be from 0 to 10. But then we put our standards to say this mortuary then it will...
No,
let's
you
say
wrote that it is above 10.
yeah, 10 plus.
You
And
said
that's the
10
challenge.
plus. Now you're saying, in fact, no, it was not 10 plus. It was between 8 and 10. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying it was between 8 and 10.
Why did you write it was 10 plus?
Okay, let me go back to that one.
You want to explain that again?
No, I want to make it in such a way that you'll be able to understand.
You think I don't understand?
Sorry, Justice, for that.
Council, you have that fun?
The remainder of the sentence says we then requested urgent repair. My understanding of the word repair is something is broken and needs to be fixed. Is that your understanding of the word repair?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I also want to point out that your version that the mortuary was not working is the same as the letter you wrote on 16 August 2016. In your words, the mortuary facility, we are experiencing a problem. Those were your words. With the mortuary facility, which is not working. That's what you wrote 16 August 2016. And in this document, 25 October 2017, you say the same thing. You say it's not working, something was broken, it needed to be fixed. And you said to me when I asked you about the gas, you said that's just routine maintenance. And that's why I was trying to break down this paragraph, because the next thing that is in this paragraph is the mortuary had a leaking gas. That was what was broken, isn't that correct? Is it okay for the gas to leak?
No, it's not okay.
So the only version that doesn't make sense is the version you're giving us today, that it wasn't broken. But you've now clarified that it was, and there had to be a repair. I want to move
We've run 10 minutes past my lunch break because you were in full flight. So
I apologize, Justice.
I didn't want to disturb you unduly.
This is a good time to take the adjournment before
I think it's a good time to take adjournment. You know, Bamsanda, let me leave you with just one thought.
Okay.
You know why we are here? What is this gathering about? Do you know what it is about?
Yes.
It's about 143 people who died because a variety of state officials did not take care of the work they were paid to do. You know that.
Yes.
You must have heard that often by now.
Yes, I've had.
It includes the pain of finding bodies of their family members decomposed. And the natural thing is to ask, how did that happen? They want to know that.
Okay.
You understand that?
I understand, Justice.
It's how serious it is. We're not trying to get you fired from your job. We're not trying to show you to be incompetent. But the truth will help, you know.
Yeah.
And the Gumeda people want to know, how did it happen? That will help them heal. So it's not how clever you might answer, it is how caring you continue to be as a public official. So go and think about that during lunch.
Okay.
And truth is going to be very helpful.
Okay.
At least one of your colleagues has told us that. So I really want to plead with you to think carefully about this.
Okay.
And all paperwork before us suggests your evidence is not to be relied upon. But I want you to come back and surprise me and tell us what happened, what were the challenges, so that the family can at least know what happened. Do you follow that?
Yes, Justice.
Do you want to reply to what I've just said?
Yeah, maybe based on the question that will be forwarded to me, then I'll give the information that is correct then.
You'll give the information that is correct. Yeah. Do that for these families, right?
Yeah.
Just tell them what happened. It may be unfortunate, but let's get the truth out of the way. And we have a lot of other witnesses to listen to. You are one small part of the bigger problem.
Okay.
But we want to know how that body got decomposed, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. We're adjourned.